You are about to enter Chuck versus the Podcast, the place for people who love Chuck and the people who work on Chuck. The only show that takes you behind the scenes with the stars.
Yvonne Strahovski.
Zachary Levi. Joshua Gomez.
Ryan McPartland.
Adam Baldwin.
Sarah Lancaster.
Interactive interviews.
Julia Ling.
Phil Clemmer.
All the cast.
Dixon High. Tony Hale. Scott Krinsky. Mark Christopher Lawrence.
Anita Federici.
Fun hosts.
This is Mel. This is Liz. Now you can see how wacko we are.
The writers.
Allie Adler. Scott Rosenbaum. Zev Borow.
The editors.
Matt Barber. Jeff Granville. Kevin Mock.
Contests.
We are giving away a Chuck press kit.
The directors.
Jason Ensley. Norman Buckley.
The guest stars.
Steve Austin.
Kristen Group.
The music.
This is Tim Jones.
Guest hosts.
I'm Kaylee from Toronto.
Conventions.
Lights come up, and here comes Jeffster out on stage.
Set visits.
This is the guy right here.
And much more. Are you ready? This is Gray.
This is Mel.
This is Liz.
And we want to welcome you to Chuck versus the Podcast, episode 54 for Friday, May 14th, 2010. And we've got a great episode for you. Let's roll right in.
Well, the ratings are another good news, bad news situation for Chuck fans, depending on your particular outlook. The fast overnights from TV by the numbers are in for Chuck versus the Tooth. And while they aren't down from last week, they also aren't up. So against new shows on all of the broadcast networks and a pair of hyped playoff games, Chuck again pulled in a 1.9 in that 18 to 49 demo. That's the same as what they got last week. And they had approximately 5.33 million viewers tuning in, which is up just a little bit over last week's numbers. So, I mean, there's some progress there. Mm-hmm. Chuck was still NBC's highest demo rated show for the night, meaning that they scored the highest in the demos for Monday night. And once again, Chuck wasn't the only ones scratching our head over low numbers. The live feed, part of the Hollywood Reporter, says that House drew its lowest numbers since 2004.
Wow. So
I don't know where everybody's going on Mondays at 8, but it's not in front of the TV.
Mm-hmm.
It was, I mean, once again, like every show in that time slot was down. So it's not endemic to Chuck, but it is still frustrating to see.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we hope that they look at relative numbers. But,
I'm sure they do.
But 1.9 is definitely in uncomfortable territory. So
it is.
We'll see. And we'll see very soon.
Yeah. Just remember, though, that as much as we examine the numbers and parse them for all kinds of information and what can they tell us, you know, they're the tea leaves of our future. The networks, they have a team of people doing that with a lot more in-depth information than what we have. So, you know, just remember that even though we're saying, I hope they look at this and I hope they look at that, they're paying people to do that. So,
Yeah. But, you know, don't get all, worried because the renewal news has been pretty good. The buzz has been pretty positive. In an interview with the live feed, NBC President Angela Bromstad referred to Chuck as a very strong player. And Michael Asiello from Entertainment Weekly says his sources tell him a 13-episode pickup is expected, while TV by the numbers goes so far as to say their sources indicate it's a done deal for 13 episodes with an option for the back 9 pickup, meaning Chuck would return this fall. None of this, of course, is official until NBC announces it, likely at their upfronts on Sunday, May 16th, but the good vibes can't hurt, so keep them coming, folks.
Definitely. And we do remind you, just like we said last year, that a 13-episode renewal with a back 9 possibility is exactly what we had in season 1, 2, and 3, I think. Mm-hmm. So that's not necessarily bad news. It could mean that we get the same 19, or it could mean we even get 22.
Mm-hmm.
And very exciting, Yvonne Strahovski has been cast in the upcoming action film The Killer Elite, led by British stars Clive Owen and Jason Statham. Yvonne's role is that of Statham's character's girlfriend, and will, says the film's producer, launch Yvonne in a big way. Of course, we're all familiar with her acting skills and total gorgeousness, but this could indeed bring her to the attention of a worldwide audience. The Killer Elite begins filming in Melbourne this week, so it looks like Yvonne will get to spend her Chuck hiatus on native soil again. And we're really, really excited because, I love Clive Owen and Jason Statham, but when you know that those guys are in it, you know that it's going to be a big movie. It's not just a little independent thing. It's not something that's going straight to DVD. This is a big budget thing that is going to be in the movie theaters. So can't wait to see her in that, and can't wait to see, hopefully, that brings some more attention to Chuck.
Yeah. And Robert De Niro and Dominic Purcell have also signed on recently. So the cast is getting more and more impressive by the day. So, props to Yvonne.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. There has been some concern among the fans about her filming, whether filming this is going to interfere with her coming back to Chuck. It doesn't. It's the same as what happened last year when during the Chuck hiatus, she filmed a couple of movies in Australia. So don't fear. It's fine. They do this all the time.
Yeah.
Not a big deal. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We have an interview roundup on ChuckTV.net. Julia Ling talks to TV Squad about Anna Wu's return to the Buy More in this week's episode, and says she wants Morgan, which, of course, now if you've seen the episode, you know what she's talking about there. Yvonne talked to IF Magazine about fighting in heels and doing her own stunts, which she loves, and the fan campaigns, which she also loves. And Zach was promoting Chuck in Madrid earlier this week as part of his European tour. And among his comments, he said that he was pretty optimistic about a fourth season. So that's encouraging. And he was also going on to Italy and a couple of other stops in Europe. So our overseas fans might get a chance to see him.
Mm-hmm. And speaking about overseas and international issues, we have an international edition of our listener emails this week. I'm going to start for something from Mexico, from Don C. And Don C asks, do you happen to know where we could find snail mail addresses for any of the Chuck cast? We were thinking of sending some fan mail while we are here in Puebla, Mexico. In Mexico, I guess you would say. And that's a great question, Don. And we generally don't send mail directly to the cast and crew. But if you're interested in any of those, Mel, what should people do?
I highly recommend just sending it to the studio, because that Warner Brothers address is out there. So you can just send it to Warner Brothers care of Chuck. And then, the person's name. That would probably be the most readily accessible address out there. So we recommend doing that.
Yep. There have been some cases where we have gathered messages by email, like we did with Ali Adler. And she really, really appreciated that. We're open if there's anything like that you want to put together. But generally speaking, if we're going to do something like that, we'll gather a whole bunch of things together before we send it directly, just to be respectful of their time.
Exactly. Well, our next email comes from Brazil, and this is for one of many, many comments and emails we've had from Brazil in the last few weeks. This is from Karim, I believe is how you pronounce it. And he says, hey guys, I'm from Brazil, and every week I listen to the podcast. Today, I decided to listen to the first podcast, and it was awesome. The interview with Yvonne Strahovski was great. And I have to say, congratulations on this amazing support for this amazing show. It says, well, I'm a Chuck addict, and watching all this huge campaign to save the show, and the ratings are not helping, and we, people from other countries, can't do anything but send tweets to help. This is painful. Looking forward to hearing good news from NBC soon. Well, Karim, we feel your pain. And we understand how frustrating it must be to be in another country where your ratings don't make a difference. You can't watch it live and make an impact on the ratings. We're sorry. And we know that you're out there supporting us, and your moral support certainly helps. Participating in the Twitter campaigns also helps tremendously. That's something international fans can do. And voting in some of these polls, like the USA Today poll. And I know we had a lot of international fans helping out with the E-Online polls. So there are some things you can do, but we wanted to acknowledge, first of all, that the international fans at large, but also the Brazilian Chuck fan population seems to have grown exponentially. We're getting emails from you guys and comments and tweets from you constantly. So we wanted to give you a shout out and say, hey, we hear ya.
Let's say obrigado.
Yes. We're doing what we can. We're doing what we can so that you guys can keep watching this show too.
Yeah.
Exactly. And from Michaela in Melbourne, Australia. Michaela, you have the same name as my daughter. She says, hi, Gray, Mel, and Liz. I live in Melbourne, Australia, and I love your podcast. Chuck is without doubt my favorite TV show of all time. I watch a fair bit of TV and get quite enthused. For example, I watch Lost and listen to 4 podcasts on a regular basis, sometimes more, about the show.
Wow.
Chuck just seems to have the magic ingredients. She says, thanks for all the hard work that you put in each week. I love the interviews, ratings, info, and everything else you manage to fit into each jam-packed episode. It means a lot to me as a fan that you would spend so much time, energy, and creativity into enhancing the Chuck watching experience. Anywho, my question for you is, do you know if there is an official soundtrack for any of the Chuck seasons? I really enjoy the music, but have been unable to find an official soundtrack online. I know there are lists of the songs, and I could download each song individually from iTunes. It would be nice to support the show directly, though. Any info you might know would be great. Warmest regards, Michaela. Thank you, Michaela. I agree. I want a soundtrack as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, I can say direct from the horse's mouth from Tim Jones. He's been working on a soundtrack for season 1 and season 2. We actually, a few podcasts ago, mentioned that he was looking for your submissions in terms of what songs to pick, and that picking has been done, and now it's just up to the studio. I'm just guessing that it would depend on the season 4 renewal. I'm just guessing that if season 4 happens, which we cross fingers that it does, that at that point a soundtrack would help promote the show and that they would okay it then. If it doesn't get renewed, that might factor in on whether they decide to release that, but it is in the works, and we are hoping that it does happen.
And if you're looking for a soundtrack of the songs that are used, not the score itself, there isn't one yet, but you can always build your own playlist with the songs that we have them listed for each episode on chucktv.net under the music section, and you can build your own playlist. But as far as I know, they are not putting out a Chuck song soundtrack.
Mm-hmm. Which I think it would be fairly unusual for a show of this type to do that. Not unheard of, but unusual. I mean, I know it's done with Glee, but that's a musical
that's
show.
Glee.
Yeah, that's Glee.
Yeah, they get to keep more of the royalties for that, I think.
Yeah.
So that wraps up our international edition of listener emails. We had a few more that we are just not going to have time to cover this week, but keep sending them in because we love to hear from you.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
And we're going to move on to our discussion about Chuck 316, Chuck versus the Tooth. Dun, dun,
okay.
dun. I
could not figure out the title of this episode, how it was going to be relevant.
Mm-hmm.
And then for it to be like that, like, the tooth is carrying secret information.
Yeah.
I mean, only on Chuck, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I thought it was a great episode. Obviously, again, as we mentioned last week, it wasn't a finale episode. It wasn't a mythology episode exactly. But it was fun. I loved seeing Doc as a Doc.
Yeah.
On the show.
I think it was a transitional episode. I think it was kind of, okay, we now have established that Chuck and Sarah are together. They're going to stay together. They work well together. Morgan is part of the team. Casey's back. Now we're setting up for these last 3 episodes of the season that are going to be, everything but the kitchen sink, or maybe including this kitchen sink.
Mm-hmm.
So we were kind of tidying up some loose ends. We got a little bit of closure with Anna.
Yeah.
But then we also set up, which showed, Morgan's growth, especially over this season. My goodness.
Mm-hmm.
But we also, we set up the intersect is damaging Chuck's brain.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of huge.
Potentially.
Yes. Let's qualify that.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's interesting when you think of what's happening. They didn't take his flashes seriously, but his dream flashes did predict what was going to happen. And we presume that his dream flashes about Shaw are presumably going to have an impact. So it does seem like the intersect is working even in his subconscious, even in his dreams. Now, will that have a damaging effect on his brain. The good doctor is guessing.
And I'm really surprised that we haven't seen this happening with Chuck before, where he was dream flashing, because your dreams are your subconscious pulling data together and coming up with usually a rather abstract representation of these little snippets that it's pulling together. So in my opinion, that's a lot of what the Intersect is doing, is decoding all these images and showing them to Chuck in these rapid flashes. So the idea of putting the dreams and the Intersect together makes perfect sense to me. And when it first kind of leaked that that's what was coming up, I thought, my goodness, why hasn't this happened before? So I'm really excited to see this and see it play out and see how it affects Chuck, and especially now knowing that his sister's a neurologist. We're getting a little closer to pulling her in on Team Bartowski, even though right now she's Team Ring, but she doesn't know it. So,
yep.
Yeah. This was one of those gut wrenching kind of episodes for me. I enjoy episodes like this where you kind of biting your nails because Chuck sees what he sees and no one believes him. And those kind of storylines always have me on the edge of my seat because, of course, we're the audience and we can see it's true. Nobody's believing Chuck. He's the only one that sees this stuff. And, I liked that. And I liked Anna coming back.
With the wind in her hair.
The wind. And then Morgan got the slow-mo camera.
Yeah.
Yay!
Did he look great or what?
Yeah.
He did.
Wow. I was blown away.
Yeah.
I want to go back to you talking about the being on the edge of your seat and people not believing Chuck. Don't you think they should have learned after versus the other guy when he kept telling them something's off, something's wrong with Shaw?
Yeah.
I don't trust him. I don't trust him. And they didn't believe him. And look what happened.
You would think, but that always happens with the hero. The hero,
right.
Usually does end up being right, but nobody ever believes him.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say, you guys, we just did this.
Yeah.
We just went through this with you. But how much did you love? I really love that we're seeing Beckman in the off hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was so funny with her hair down for a change.
Yeah.
And, a visitor. That was funny. That was, But she did acknowledge that she cares about Chuck.
That was a big one. I noticed that.
And so did Casey.
Yeah.
Going to the doc's house to plead for help for Chuck.
Yeah. In the off hours.
Before Sarah got there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Sarah admitting to everybody, not just Chuck, that she does, or not everybody, but other people, that she does indeed love Chuck. So there's another breakthrough for Sarah, I think.
Yeah, particularly when, we know that Chuck was lying to her, but she also knew that Chuck lied to her, and she didn't even bring it up. In the end, I don't know if you noticed that she just wanted to tell him that she loved him.
That's a pretty huge breakthrough for Sarah.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you think? I mean,
yeah,
being in the spy world where everything is not what it seems, and yet she accepts this, and I don't know, it's just kind of another growth spurt, I think, another growing step for her to just accept something on blind faith and just go with it. Just say, you know what? It doesn't matter. I love him. I love him anyway.
And particularly after they proved that there was nothing in the tooth, for her to come back and still be rooting for him.
Yeah.
He's still her Chuck.
Yeah. Oh, I love that Merlin character in the hospital.
That was I actually thought we were going to see a bunch of crazy former spies take out those guys that came for Chuck. I was like, oh my gosh, really? Is this going to happen? And then no.
Yeah, it was good red herring.
We got played.
Yeah. But it was funny.
Chuck trying to do his Chuck Fu while under the influence of colored liquid, which is always bad.
Yeah.
That was pretty funny.
It was funny. Oh my.
Yeah.
Great moments.
I have to say, I'm sorry for Anna. It seems like how they left this, that and speaking about Julia Ling, that they're not really giving a great way for her to come back.
Yeah, they seem to have reached some closure with Anna and said that, Morgan has now grown beyond her. He's matured past her. And, and as much as we like Julia Ling, I think it's not a bad thing for Morgan's character to progress in such a way that he can leave her behind.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I'll miss her if she doesn't come back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I missed having her around this season.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I don't. Obviously, these are talented writers. It's not impossible for them to write her back in, but definitely for now, it seems like she has been written out of the storyline for the next little while.
I don't think Morgan has time right now for romance. He's too caught up in the spy thing right now.
Yeah.
I mean, that's his world right now. He's living a dream.
Yeah. Unless she's wondering what to do and she gets pulled into the spy world.
See, that's
she
how
did have that little fight scene there.
Yeah.
That's how they could bring it back around for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I thought that total tangent here, but the whole storyline with the mental issues and even the way it was directed with the camera angles and the was it Zamibian?
Mm-hmm.
Zamfibia. Oh, that was hilarious. I like the truth serum and keeping him on the table. I mean, there was some really good drama in this episode, and it was a really good kind of psycho drama within the world of Chuck. I love having that kind of flavor in the show.
I didn't like the needle scene.
Oh no.
I'm not a chicken of needles myself. I just hate seeing them stuck into somebody else.
Uh-huh.
Close up too. Ugh.
Yeah.
I think I decided to tweet right then.
Mm-hmm.
Looked at my screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now we should talk a little bit about the subterfuge with Justin and Ellie.
I know. Oh my gosh, how awesome is this?
Yeah.
So Ellie thinks that she's working for the CIA. She's convinced that Casey's a bad guy, which, to, give her the benefit of the doubt, they have kind of been setting that up for her.
Yeah.
She has kind of always thought him as crazy, so.
Yeah. And they, and Chuck and Devin and even Casey to an extent have shored that up, especially this season. So, I think though that Devin is going to look back on a certain conversation and smack himself in the forehead for not handling it well, because he, in Ellie's mind, she went to him about these concerns that she has and she got the brush off.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Devin knows what's going on. And so he was trying to reassure her, not realizing just how serious this was to Ellie, just what was at stake. And I think that is what then allowed Justin to really manipulate her and prey on her to do his bidding, to call her dad, to call Orion and all of that, and she isn't talking to Devin because she doesn't think he's going to take her seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Not realizing that Devin is taking her seriously. He's just doesn't want her to know that he is, because there's actually so much. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's complicated, but I absolutely love the way that they're bringing Ellie into the spy game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This kind of roundabout way.
Very, very smart. And it's tying together with Papa Bartowski, who's coming soon.
Yay!
Yeah.
Scotty!
Yep. So we leave the episode with only 3 more after this. Yowie. So there's one this Monday, which Rafe Judkins and Lauren LaFranc wrote. And we're very, very excited that just in a couple of days, we have an interview with both of them. So that's going to be really, really cool. But then we have their episode on Monday, and then the 2-part season finale the next week.
Mm-hmm. It's coming up quickly.
Whew.
Yeah. I think, I think we're all going to be coming out of those episodes and taking a deep breath because we won't have breathed for, an hour or 2 hours.
Yeah.
We might need the doc to perform some therapy with us.
Yeah.
But was anybody else surprised that Dr. Dreyfus was not a bad guy?
Yes.
Not a double agent?
Yes.
Yeah.
I expected it.
How conditioned are we now to expect everyone to not be who they seem?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that it's a surprise when they are.
Yeah, exactly.
But I liked it. I liked the fact that he had somebody who knew about the intersect that he could talk to.
Absolutely. And I think it sets him up as a potential recurring character.
Mm-hmm.
Because we know that this is going to be an ongoing issue, that the intersect in how it's impacting Chuck's brain is going to be an ongoing issue. And spies need therapists. So I don't know, with any luck, we'll be seeing Christopher Lloyd again.
Mm-hmm.
I hope so.
Yep. Yeah. Hope so too. So I think that's about all that we can talk about for the episode.
It's all my tired brains coming up with.
Yeah.
Cool. So I guess we can move on to our sponsors.
We do want to thank our sponsors who are so generous with Chuck versus the podcast. MovieMorons.com is a film podcast. It's not run by morons, and they do like movies. Check out MovieMorons.com if you're interested in film of any sort. And, of course, SyrianJunkies.de. It's the largest television fan site in Germany. If you are any kind of proficient with the German language and you're a fan of television, check out SyrianJunkies.de. They've got Chuck, they've got Lost, they've got everything.
Mm-hmm. And so we're going to start to wrap things up. Want to remind you to go to chuckpodcast.com and or chuckpodcast.blip.tv for any of our back catalog of episodes. And we want to remind you as well, if you are still subscribed to the old enhanced AAC feed at iTunes, that's not the one you want. You want the new feed, and you can go to podcast 49 for details, or just get the link from chuckpodcast.com.
And Gray, what's going on with the Zune RSS feed?
With the Zune RSS feed, you can get audio-only episodes at zune.net, and we have been trying for a long time to get the feed updated, to get the video podcasts on there, and they've been very, very slow. Fans have even gone on their own volition to submit the episodes, and zune.net is very slow. So you can get a link for the feed if you have an RSS reader. You can use the link to get the episodes, and you can always go to blip.tv if you want to stream them online. So if you want more information about that, just send an email to mail@chuckpodcast.com, and I'll break it down for you. And just cross your fingers that at some point Zune gets their act together.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And of course, if you have any questions or comments, please share them with us. We'd love to hear from you. You can email us at mail@chuckpodcast.com.
Mm-hmm. And speaking about crossing our fingers, 2 days till the NBC announcement. We assume it's going to be in that announcement. Isn't always, but we are assuming. So cross your fingers, your other fingers, your thumbs,
your toes,
your
your
arms,
eyes,
your legs. Cross whatever you can cross, even if you look like a pretzel. It's coming soon, and let's hope for the best.
That's right.
Yeah.
We'll see you next time.
Mm-hmm. So if you don't want to hear spoilers, just turn the podcast off now. If you do, here they come. And we're back.
Well, we're almost to the end of the season, which means we don't have a whole lot of spoilers left to tell you. We do, however, have the official synopsis for the season finale, which again is 2 episodes. Episodes 318, Chuck versus the Subway, and 319, Chuck versus the Ring, Part 2, which are airing back-to-back on Monday, May 24th. So again, we're getting 2 episodes in one night as our season finale. And the official NBC synopsis says the Ring targets Chuck and his team. Scott Bakula guest stars, and the Ring is closing in on Chuck and Operation Bartowski. Fortunately, Chuck's dad, Steven, is working hard to save his son. Meanwhile, Casey must secretly protect his daughter from the ring, and Big Mike receives some serious news about the Buy More.
Ooh.
This episode will also include Yvonne Strahovski. These 2 episodes will also include Yvonne Strahovski, Joshua Gomez, Ryan McPartland, Scott Krinsky, and Vic Sahai. There were some questions about Sarah Lancaster's name not being on there. Well, we're pretty sure she's there, but I think it was just a typo. So that's your official description for the season finale of Chuck.
Wow. Coming way too soon.
I know.
Yeah.
It's going to be a big night. I can hardly wait.
Yeah.
But I don't want it to come too soon, but I can hardly wait.
I know. But the good news is that season 3 has been so strong. There's lots of rewatching to do in the summer.
Absolutely.
Yep. So this is the final wrap up. We will bid you adieu. And as I mentioned, we do have a podcast in a couple of days with Rafe and Lauren, so watch for it.
That's right. And since I am of German descent, I will say Auf Wiedersehen.
And I'll just say bye, Chucksters.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.